Hello, everybody, and welcome to our podcast. This is a bite-sized podcast that we are doing to talk about energy and energy healing. We decided to do this because so many people are in need of energetic balancing and healing, but often people don't know what it means or how it can help them or benefit them, more to the point. So I would like to introduce you to my co-host, Amanda Brooks. Amanda.
Hello, everybody, and this is Jo Dahl, and we're so excited to be here.
So Amanda, just share with people a little bit about what you do.
So I use the body, emotion, belief code practice along with kinesiology and my background as a chiropractor to help to bring in balance on all the different layers and levels of our being. And Jo?
I also am a kinesiologist and I practice to bring bodies back into balance, as with the muscle testing, but I also call in some spiritual healing to help to clear and cleanse the energetic system too. And so we are very much in alignment with what we do, and that's why we chose to come on and talk to you about all things energy. So before we start, we thought that we would share with you something that we use on a weekly basis to help our own energy. So what was your chosen energetic tool this week?
So my energetic tool is an aura spray, and it's clearing and releasing. So I use it, spray it all over in my auric field, and it helps to cleanse and soften a lot of the events that have happened over the week or the day. Sometimes I use it daily. So yeah, what about you? What do you use?
So I think we've been on a similar tack this week. So I've been using an essence as well. So this is one of the amazing Aurosoma essences. I don't know if you can see. Ooh, where are we? It's called Hilarion, and it's to help clear and cleanse the space as well. I use it by doing an aura sweep, and it also offers space to allow the new to come in and to release the old. So particularly with the new moon that we've just had on Wednesday, it's all about bringing in the new energy. So this felt very appropriate to use that this week.
Yeah, I totally agree. And it's funny how we both come up with something so similar.
Yeah.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
So this is a bite-sized topic, as you've mentioned, and this is about what happens when our energy is depleted or out of balance, how it can affect us. Is it emotionally, spiritually, physically? What would you say?
I don't think you can separate. And that sounds a big thing to say for people who don't understand energy, because so often we think when we've got a physical issue or a physical concern that it is just physical, but it's never just physical. It's always intertwined with the emotional and the spiritual. And when we are energetically depleted, then it can show itself, present itself in one aspect, but it will also be having a significant effect on the other aspects, the other bodies, as we call them. How, if I was to ask that question of you, how would you see it present itself in somebody if they were depleted? What would be the first kind of I was going to use a big word there, alarm bell to go off, but what could people look for to get a knowing themselves that something was kind of not quite right?
Well, most of us are living in such a stressful world, and so our energy is being depleted all the time. So it's things like exhaustion, lack of motivation. And I know that sounds like a funny one because we always think, oh, it's just because we're not interested in something. But that lack of motivation can be because our energy is so depleted that it's just hunkering down to do the absolute bare minimum. They might have problems sleeping, problem's just being. And it is such a big topic. Really is such a big topic. I mean, what have you seen in your practice that when people come to you and their energy is depleted?
Complete overwhelm, not knowing where to begin to help themselves. That feeling, that sense of, well, how can I not cope with what I normally cope with?
Yeah.
The tears, when they're so depleted and they just keep bursting into tears or feeling very tearful and emotional at the slightest thing that perhaps would never have bothered normally. A calling to sleep, a calling to pull the covers over them in bed and just not get up in the morning. I know that can be a sign of somebody being sad, 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 or, verging on feeling low mood or depression. But it can also be, from my experience of what I've seen recently, when people just haven't got the energy to get out of bed. They haven't got the energy to think about what to wear, never mind go to work or take the kids to school or take the dog out. It's that complete, I don't know how I'm going to get through the day. What have you
And
seen?
well, I totally agree with you. I think though the thing is that we're so used to pushing ourselves past all of that that by the time we realize that we're depleted, we've been feeling that for a very long time. But we look at how everyone else is dealing with it, and then we think, oh, it's just me. It's just me. I just need to pull myself together. I mean, how often do we hear that?
Yeah.
And literally, we can become such a hard taskmaster on ourselves that we then just feel we have to keep pushing. We have to keep pushing, and then we can't sleep. And then it almost sort of like that snowball, it just becomes that big ball by the time it's got to the end. And then they just feel like there's no help. It's just me. And
Yeah.
it's not.
Yeah.
It's so many, like you've just said.
Yeah. And I think the other analogy I use with clients is it's like having lots of poles with plates,
Mm,
but you're underneath them all. You can't see which ones you need to spin, and they all feel like they're just about to come tumbling down by your side. You just cannot see the wood for the trees. It's complete overwhelm.
mm. So
So
what would you
go
oh,
on.
apologies there, but what would you suggest to somebody who was feeling so depleted? What would you suggest that they did as a start? Because sometimes we just don't know what to do we?
No. Well, I think the first thing to do is to not write a huge list of things you need to do, because that in itself can be overwhelming. And I've heard that from clients this week is like, please don't give me a list of things to do because my list's already too big and I can't cope with the list I've already got. So what I've been talking about is just for today, do one small thing that can make a difference, one step at a time. It's movement and not stagnation. But for me, the things that I would look to, and I'm talking generally here, would be, what am I drinking? What am I eating? Am I going outside in nature to resource myself? Do I do any of the things that I know bring me joy? Because so often when we're in that place of exhaustion, we don't even think about joy or happiness. We go into the black cloud, and we can't see anything that we need to do to help ourselves. So for me, it's about, right, what small thing can I do today that I haven't been doing that can start to bring back my energy, to start to rebalance me? What would you do? What would you call on if it was you who was feeling like that?
Well, having tried the lists, as we do,
Yeah.
and feeling even more overwhelmed and just hiding the list, I totally agree. So, one of the things that I find is that even if I don't want to go out for a walk because I'm literally too tired, I will just stick my head out the window. I know it sounds like so silly, but just having that bit of fresh air and what you said about movement, not necessarily that I'm going to move around, but I will put on a piece of music that will be something that makes me feel happy. But just that one thing. But it reminds me, when you were talking there, when I had my son, the midwife, she said, you choose one thing a day that you can do. She said, because you will never get more than that one thing done a day. And I was like, yeah, right. But actually, that's, if we think of it like that, our body's gone through trauma for however many weeks, months that we've been in that position of overwhelm.
Mm.
And it is about bringing our body back out of that space into more balance.
Yeah.
So, yeah, water as well. Big thing. How many of us don't drink water?
Well, particularly this time of year.
Mm.
And what would you say the benefits of drinking water are at this time when you're feeling exhausted or overwhelmed?
Well, if you think of our body, it's say 75% water. There's different scientific research around all of that, but it's a big proportion of us. And if we're not drinking water, and most of us will have like juices or teas or coffees, something warming, but as soon as it's got a drop of anything in, the liver has to become involved, and the liver's already overworked. So it's just about sipping water. And that allows the cells to get more sort of like energy in so that we can start to feel slightly better. And I mean, let's face it, just slightly better would be good.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So if somebody came to you, Joe, and they were depleted, and how would you start working with them? How would you help support them?
So I would ask the body
Mm.
through muscle testing. I think the most important thing that we can do when somebody is feeling like that is to balance the body. And that is teamwork when somebody comes to see us, because we work together with our body energetic system and their body's energetic system to help to balance them. And once the body's in balance, then things start to flow a little bit more. And then the body can kind of give a bit of guidance as to what's needed from there on in. But it is a case of working really gently, because working too much, too deep is again going to need energy to process that work. And when somebody's already depleted, then that may not be there. What about you?
I agree totally. I mean, for me, it's the go-to is always ask the body what is it needs right now in order to gain some balance. And it isn't about doing weekly sessions. You go in too quick, you just get thrown out energetically, as I call it, and nobody feels better from that. So, but it's just those small little increments of bringing the body into balance. And I know because you do the spiritual healing, that's a big thing that is, I find, so important for people when their energy is depleted.
Yes. I mean, sometimes people are so depleted, so low in their energy, that even to make a choice to come and see somebody else to get some help is too overwhelming. And I think in that instance, when the energy is so depleted, then just to call on spiritual healers, whether that be organizations or individuals that may be local to you, to offer some spiritual healing. It just helps. And I'm going to use another analogy, which isn't very glamorous, but it's the only one I can think of at the moment. It just helps to put the plug gently back in the sink,
Mm.
so that then the energy can start to begin to rise again. Then people have enough energy to then make their own choices and options as to how they would like to proceed, whether it's things that they can do themselves or whether they seek help and guidance from somebody like ourselves. Yeah.
So I think that's given people some food for thought. And it's, as I say, that bite-sized piece. It's, if you're feeling overwhelmed, maybe even this video is taking you a few stops and starts to get through towards the end. But there is hope. We work with people so often where their energy system is depleted. And things can shift and can change. And we really hope that you will have got a lot of benefit out of some of our little tips and tools. Is there anything you wanted to add, Jo?
No, I just think that the more we can help people to understand energy, the more we can look inwardly as people, that we can see when our energy is not right, when we can see if our energy is a little bit depleted, and we can call inwardly and start to recognize those signs, then we've done our job. Because so often we don't look at ourselves, we don't prioritize ourselves, or ask ourselves the question, how am I? And yet we are struggling ourselves. You know, it's that analogy again. I use a lot of analogies with a candle. If our candle's not lit, but we're giving all of our energy to others, we can't actually light their candles because our candle's out. So the first thing that would help anybody in our families or communities or workplaces is for us to make sure that our candle is lit, because then we're coming from a balanced and resourced place, not a depleted and out of balance place. So thank you for today. Thank you for sharing your wisdom.
And yours too. And I mean, that and how you ended that just leads us into what our next topic is going to be about, which is protecting our energy, and being about how we preserve our energy fields. So what an amazing lead on to that one.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing everybody next time. Bye bye.
Bye.